I'm Pamela Isaacs. Welcome to another edition of Insight. Our subject today is foster care, and our guests are Mrs. Lorraine Duvalier, Assistant Director in the Department of Social Services, and Mrs. Shakiel Knowles, Welfare Officer in the Placement Unit, also in the Department of Social Services. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to talk a little about foster care, and we're also going to talk about adoption. But first of all, tell us, what is foster care?
Okay, foster care is when a person who may be not relative to related to a child, or maybe a relative of the child, takes that child in and cares for that child.
Okay, that's it in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Now, I know before the show we were talking a little about foster care, allowance, and fostering.
Yes.
Now, when you say foster care allowance, I'm a behaving, so the first thing comes to my mind is, oh, that's when they keep the children for the government and the government give them a little money. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. So tell us, or clarify for us, what is foster care allowance and what is fostering? Right.
Well, foster care allowance is a program that the placement unit manages. And what it is where the department provides assistance for persons, maybe a grandmother, an aunt, a cousin, or uncle, who may be caring for their relative's child. And they may be in a financial situation where they don't have the funds of their own to care for that child. So they come to the department for some assistance. And so they are categorized under the foster care allowance program.
So they are given
Yes.
some funds.
Yes, they're given some
by
funds.
the government.
Yes, by the Department
to
of Social
Services. I
Right
see.
now, we have 198 children who are receiving assistance under the foster care allowance program.
198, almost
Yes.
200.
Yes.
You talked about the grandmother and the aunt caring for the child. What happens in the event someone is incarcerated? How does that work? What happens to the children in a situation like that?
Well, they would come to us after they would already had care of the child. So we would be the ones they come to after the situation has happened, after maybe the parent has been placed in prison, after maybe the mother's become incapacitated, or something like that. So that's when they come to us in that type of situation.
Okay, Mrs. Duvalier. I know we're talking about foster care, and I said we will talk a little about adoption. What is the difference between foster care and adoption?
Well, the difference is the legal aspect. Fostering and adoption, of course you're caring for the child, but one of them you can't change the name of the child. The other one, you change the name of the child. The child is basically yours after you go through the legal process. So that's the difference.
Okay. And the fostering process is, how long can you keep the child or children in your home?
Well, we want the child to stay there permanently. And like I said, the difference is, the legal
name
aspect.
change, yeah.
And we are hoping that, especially if that child is from a background where they are disadvantaged, that they would remain in that home where they are receiving the best of care.
But tell me something, and I know this has happened in this country. Suppose I'm a foster parent and the mother or father of the child says, okay, now I want my child. Can they just come and take this child back?
Okay, it depends. If it's a situation that came through the Department of Social Services, that child would have a legal document called a care order.
Now, this is in the event of fostering?
Fostering, yes.
Okay, I understand.
And I'll explain the difference with adoption, or if Shakiel wants to
Go ahead.
get into that part, she can.
All right.
But if it comes through the Department of Social Services, someone would have been found unfit. And because that person would have been found unfit, the department would have obtained legal documents on that child. We would then have the authority, after finding out that the home is suitable, the parents are suitable to be able to take care of that child, then the department has the authority to put that child into the most suitable home. And so once that happens, the parents cannot just come and take the child because there are legal documents. On the other hand, If it's a private arrangement and you have an agreement between those parents and yourself as to, just hold on to my child until I can do better. Even if it's a situation where you are not doing better, you might take the child in order to babysit your other children or for whatever reason. And if you haven't done it legally, they can come and take the child back.
So I think the message here is, if that is, do not make your private arrangements. Try and go through the Department of
Yes.
Social Services.
Yes, as far as possible.
Right,
Or
right.
even so, they can go through the domestic court to get custody or guardianship. That's a temporary fixture. And that would secure them being the legal guardians of the child and ensure that the parent cannot just come and take the child without any reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mrs. Duvalier, I want to go back to something you said earlier concerning the fostering or the foster care of children in the homes. The Department of Social Services, do they actually or physically go into the homes and check out the situation, or what? How is that done?
Yes, we literally go into the homes because we have to see where the children are going to be. And we have standards that we abide by, and you have to meet those standards, those various criteria in order.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what are the criteria? What is criteria if I want to be? Can I just say, oh, I want to be a foster parent? What is the criteria?
Well, first of all, you have to be able to take care of that child. We know that persons may not have the finances to be able to do that, and that is where the foster care allowance comes in. But more than anything else, you have to be able to physically take care of a child, be able to meet their basic needs. More than anything else, you have to have that love and that acceptance. And what I'd like to say at this point is the reason why we came here today is to encourage the Bahamian public to become foster parents again, because we have found over the years it's not happening. Persons are willing to take their relatives or maybe their godchild or whatever, but the child who has nobody, that child basically stays in the institutions, and they don't have anybody. They grow up in there until they age out of the system.
Because I know one time ago, I wanted to ask you about follow-ups, but since we're on this topic, fostering used to be quite popular, I mean, for
Yes.
want of a better word.
Yes,
But somehow it seems to be declining.
yes, it has
Why?
declined.
It has declined.
It has
Why did
declined.
you? What do you think the department can do to sort of boost it up? What
Well, starting from
what-
here,
Yeah.
yes,
right,
programs
right,
like
right,
this,
like right.
where we would
uh-huh.
encourage persons to go to the department. It is a lengthy process in
Okay.
that we have to get to know you. We have to know who we're putting these
Right,
children
understandably
Mhm.
so.
with. Yes,
right,
and
right.
so persons get discouraged. Oh, they're asking me a lot of questions,
Ah.
and I don't think that's their business and all of that. It's not that. What we're trying to do is to find the best home for that child,
Yes.
to make sure that we don't put a child at risk.
Yes.
They're coming out of a child care institution or out of a bad situation. We cannot put them back into a bad situation.
And then too, I think parents, on the other hand, should understand that if something happens, you know how the public, they may say, well, the Department of Social should have taken better care and made sure and
Yes.
check out the
Mhm.
situation.
Yes.
So you have to be careful where you
Yes,
place
yes.
these children.
Yes.
What about, I wanted to ask you about follow-ups.
Yes.
Is that done when the child is in the home?
Yes.
How is that done, Ms.
In
Knowles?
reference to those who are already on the foster care allowance program, they are followed up by what we call child care assistants. These are individuals who go into the homes on a monthly basis, and they check on the children and the foster parent. They ensure that the child is actually still living there, because there have been instances where persons have been collecting and the children were not in their physical care. So every month, these child care assistants, they visit the home, they speak with the children to ensure that if the foster parent is taking care of them, they're providing their needs as best as possible, and that they're not being mistreated. So that's how we do a regular follow-up of our children on the foster care program.
Now, Ms. Duvalier, you said that foster care is on the decline.
Yes.
Now, you
Fostering.
also said that you felt that people were asking, or you're asking me too many questions.
Yes.
What do you think can be done to alleviate this problem?
Well, we'd have to prepare them. If they come in and express that they're interested in becoming a foster parent, we would have to prepare them as to what the process is. Tell them, yes, we are going to ask you a lot of questions. Please be patient with us. You know, if you qualify, because you have to qualify, as was pointed out earlier, not any and everybody can come in and say that I want to be a foster parent. So if you qualify, it is a lengthy process, but in the end, it would be rewarding.
Tell me something. Can single parents be a foster parent? When I say single parents, I'm not only referring to females. There are men in our society who are known to take care of children. Mm-hmm. Can a single man or a single woman become a foster parent?
Once they meet the criteria,
it doesn't,
they can.
so,
yes,
okay.
there are certain criteria.
No, because
yes.
like you said, it's good for the public to know these things, because some people may feel, oh, you must have a husband and wife in the household. So single
Now,
parents can qualify.
In terms of males, though, we're very careful with that.
With that, yes, of course.
We know that men cannot adopt
female
unless
children.
You know. That's
Can men adopt male
person's
children?
child.
Well, the law,
And vice versa?
based on the law in the Adoption Act,
Right.
Male cannot adopt a female child, but under special circumstances.
Okay.
Because it may be maybe an uncle, another brother wanting to adopt his sister. Maybe those special circumstances may be considered, but by law, male cannot adopt a female child.
So how long a process is it normally?
Normally,
For
we would
foster
say in assessing the application, we would say about 3 months, because we don't do just one interview, because you can't assess someone just
that
one
time.
meeting.
Gee.
So we do 2 to
Okay.
3 interviews with that person
Okay.
to get a good feel of them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Oh, so it is quite a thorough
Yeah.
It is
background
very
check,
thorough, yes.
and rightfully so.
And
like
then they
you
produce
said.
certain documents. They have to produce a police record. They have to produce references. If they're married, marriage certificates, their birth certificate. They have to produce a motivational letter, and this letter is them writing to us saying why I want to foster or why I want to adopt a child, and even their job letter from their employment. Yes.
Okay. But like you say, some people do say, oh, why they have to go through
They
this.
get discouraged. And, they don't continue with the process.
But then you can't water it down. You have to go through
Yes,
this
yes.
process. But
Because this is a life. This is a child's life that we have to ensure
right.
that they're placed in a safe
and
environment.
we're here today because we want people who perhaps thinking about it to know that it is very important that they go through this process. But to please consider to keep on fostering the children. That's interesting. Let's talk a little about the family islands. Are we seeing any foster care parenting programs going on there? Are they doing it there, or is it also on the decline, or what?
Well, I know the applications come to New Providence to be processed,
Okay.
and I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
Just to
what is happening
clarify, with the foster care, I just want to clarify.
Right.
Foster care allowance. We do have persons in the family islands who are getting foster care allowance, like I said, for their relative's child or children. Fostering is when persons in the community come to us and say, I want to take a child in and take care of that child. We do not provide financial assistance to that person because they come into us hopefully being financially equipped. So persons coming in to foster do not get assistance in that regard. But persons who have their relative's child, maybe a godchild, like Mr. Duvalier say, or a cousin or a niece, whatever have you, they would come in wanting assistance from the department. So
And
there's
when
a
you
slight
want
difference.
fostering and foster care allowance.
Right.
Okay, with the foster care allowance, is the procedure the same as fostering?
The procedure is similarly the same, but those persons, they don't have to produce like a police record and bank statement and all of that.
Right.
But what they need, if they're working, a salary slip, we need to have their photo ID, we need the birth certificate of the child, or maybe an affidavit. That's basically what we need from them in terms of documents that they have to produce.
Okay, hold that thought right there. 1 minute, we must take a break. We'll be back right after this message.
Did you know that there's a right way and a wrong way to put out your trash for collection? All trash must be bagged, sealed, and properly contained. All garbage cans must be covered. Garbage should not be piled around the bin. Only standard food waste products should be placed out for weekly collection. Do not leave out items such as appliances, furniture, and auto parts. Bulk items can be picked up by DEHS. Let's keep the Bahamas clean, green, and pristine.
Welcome back. Today, our subject is foster care, and our guests are Mrs. Shakiel Knowles, a welfare officer in the Department of Social Services in the Placement Unit, and Mrs. Lorraine Duvalier, Assistant Director, Department of Social Services. Now, before the break, Mrs. Knowles, I want to continue with what you were saying. You were talking about foster care, allowance, and fostering.
What I
Complete
wanted
what
to
you were saying.
continue to say was
Right.
that in regards to applying for foster care allowance and what is involved in that, we ask about your financial situation, we ask about your family history, family background, employment, the basic question that we need to know in terms of, in order for us to properly assess you for the assistance. Yeah.
Okay, and that is very important because
Very important.
you need to know what the salary is or the salaries
Yes.
are in order to see whether or not they can take care of the
Yes.
children.
Yes.
And some persons feel that foster care allowance is an entitlement, like it would be with a national insurance assistance program. But you have automatic, but you have to qualify for the assistance. So it has to be seen where your financial situation is in such a dire state where you do need assistance from the department.
Okay,
So, yeah,
okay.
that's very important.
Yes, it is very important. Now, Mrs. Duvalier, I wanted to ask a little, we wanted to touch before I close, a little about the Family Island fostering.
Yes.
Is anything happening with the Family Island and fostering?
No, not like it used to. And I'd like to encourage persons in the Family Islands also to foster. We have to do a very thorough background check because what we found in the past, we had a lot of persons fostering from the Family Islands. And what would happen is when we checked with the children, they were not being sent to school, they were being used to farm, they were being sexually abused or physically abused, neglected, they were not treated well. And so that was something that was very discouraging, very disheartening. But now we are asking persons again to open their homes, to become foster parents. Again, it's going to be a lengthy process, but we're going to be as thorough as we could. Also in times past, some of the very remote Family Islands, we didn't have offices there in order to be able to monitor the children, and so they more or less fell between the cracks because persons would just be able to come out at certain times to check and monitor those homes, and that was where a lot of the negative things were happening. But now we have offices on basically all of the Family Islands, and so that, definitely we're going to follow up and hold people accountable. And so we're once again asking persons to open their homes to be foster parents.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mrs. Duvalier, because I wanted to ask about those remote Family Islands.
Yes.
How are they monitored? They are far, but like you said, that there are offices
Yes,
now,
in the
and
past we
so the
didn't have as
monitoring
many.
processes, and people can now feel a little bit more comfortable,
Yes.
I would think,
Yes.
to foster
Yes.
children. Okay, you wanted to say something?
Also, as another part of encouraging persons who may be interested in fostering and may be apprehensive because, a lot of people don't want to deal with older children, because they would have already have issues and been institutionalized and all of that. But I just want to encourage them that, these children, they're in the institution, they need a family also. They need guidance, they need mentoring and all of that. So we want them to consider that, not let what they have to deal with be a hindrance to them, but consider the child, what they're going to need, and be willing to work with that child.
What age, at age 18, can the child continue to stay, which is the legal age, right?
Yes.
Can they continue to stay with the parents if they
Yes,
so
Most
wish?
definitely.
They usually do.
Mhm.
They usually do.
And even if the parent wants to now move into adoption, after the child's been fostered for so many years, and they say, you know what, we want this child to be legally ours, they can adopt that child.
A question comes to my mind because this is a very real situation. I know of a case, a person is at the William A. Pratt School for Young Ladies. Now, I think at age 18, which is the legal age, I think they have to leave. Now, in a case like that, can someone opt to foster a child coming out of that institution if
Well-
they so desire?
Well, totally, it's up to the person. It's up to a family.
Once they
The
qualify
individual.
again?
You know,
Oh,
no,
okay.
after
Right,
18,
after-
no, we won't deal with it.
Right.
Not
You
like
won't,
that.
not
No.
like that,
That would
okay.
be something that they would take on privately. It would be their own choice.
Okay, because the child is 18, is
18,
that
Yes,
it?
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
and we just deal with children. What I would like to say at this point is that when you take a child, an older child, meaning anybody who's not a baby, because persons tend to want to foster children who are younger and also to adopt children, and for obvious reasons, of course, they want to train that child.
Right.
The older children tend to remain in the institutions. Persons are not willing to deal with the challenges and the issues that come with these children. We try as best we can to prepare them,
Yes.
to let them know that this is not a perfect child. You're going to have to, deal with
Deal
a
with
lot
issues,
of
yes.
issues. And a lot of persons we find they're not willing to do that. They're not willing to be as patient. And what I have found is that basically they expect the child. They have a mentality. I am adopting you or I'm fostering you. The least you can do is be perfect. And that is what we have found the attitude to be. It's unspoken, but when they come to us and tell us, I can't deal with this, I can't deal with that, knowing that if you have your own child, you'll put up with that and more.
Some of the same issues.
And so we're again appealing to people to give those children a chance. We will help providing guidance and counseling and all of that, but give them a chance.
And open your homes
Yes.
and
Give
hearts
Give them a chance.
to them. Yes.
And if
yes.
persons wish, they can even begin to start mentoring some of these children who are in the homes, the older children, by visiting them at the home, and becoming involved in their lives like that.
Right,
That
work
can
with them a
begin-
little bit first.
Yes, that could be the
that's a good
beginning of
idea.
Get
the
to know them.
relationship.
Right,
yeah.
right. Take them for
And
a
so-
weekend perhaps,
right.
and yes,
So
yes.
that'll make the transition if they get into
A
the
little
home a little easier.
right, right,
Yeah.
But
yes,
you said
yes.
something about take them for the weekend. It's not as easy as that.
As
Right.
that
Because
again,
then
yeah. You
persons
have the
might
legal,
think, well,
yes,
I can
yes.
come in and I can
Just-
just take a child for the
Right,
weekend.
right.
You
Okay.
have to go through a lengthy process
Well,
again.
like Mrs. Knowles said, let it be a gradual process. What if you go to the home one day and can you take them for an outing, perhaps?
Well, I
but
think
that's
they
a little
would,
difficult
They would
again.
prefer you meeting with the child at the home
Okay,
and
all right.
establish a rapport with the child.
Child first.
And then
Okay.
you can move into maybe a day visit out with the child, and as
Okay,
it progresses. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask another question before we close. What if a married couple, happily married, come in and want to foster a child or children, and somewhere along the line, the man and wife begin to have problems in the marriage and perhaps divorce? What happens in a case like that? Either of you can answer.
You want to go first?
Okay, now in terms of adoption, if you've adopted the child, then that child is yours. And as in even a situation with a married couple who has a child of their own, naturally, you would have one parent whom the child might be more comfortable being with. And so it's the same with adoption and with fostering. Shakiel can answer.
Yes, with
What hap-
fostering, we would have to look into the situation and see what is in the best interest of the child. Maybe we can meet with the parties and determine who would have the physical care of the child, and still hoping that they can maintain the person who's not going to be living with the child be able to maintain a relationship with that child. But it's not going to be an automatic, okay, you're separated, you're divorced, okay, we're going to take the child back. No, we look into the situation and see what is the best way that we can work it out.
And this is in the event of fostering.
In terms of fostering,
In terms
yeah.
of fostering.
Yes.
Do you encourage perhaps the husband and wife, do you sort of encourage them to see if they can work it out at first?
We would. I
Before,
can't recall
something
of a
like that.
situation that we've had to deal with
Mm-hmm.
in that regard. So we would have to work it out with them.
Okay, okay. A lot of the cases with the children, are they detected within the community or the neighborhood or through schools?
Detected in terms of
Mistreatment of the child at home, where you have to place that child in foster care. How do you detect the problems with the child in the first place?
okay, child protection is the area that I work in, and persons would just come to us and tell us, we have a presence in the schools, we have a presence in the hospital, we have a presence basically everywhere. You would have a social services division. The community is also well aware of how they can report. We have the child abuse hotline, we have the national hotline.
You have the number?
So any number of places persons can report. And once the report comes to us, and we depend on persons coming to us and telling us, and then we go out and find out whether or not what they said is true.
You know the hotline number?
Yes,
You can
the
say it.
hotline numbers, the child abuse hotline is 322-2763, and that's 24 hours. Somebody's always there. The information is confidential and we act on it. And the national hotline is 422-2763.
Just pick up the phone
Just
and
pick
call.
up the phone and call.
Okay, okay. How do you think we can encourage more of our parents or persons in the community to become foster care parents, or to open their homes to what you call fostering?
I think a lot of persons are aware of what is going on in our society with our young people, and it all stems from somewhere. And usually the family is the basic unit of society. So when the family falls down, then the society falls down. And if persons have in mind that I want to make the society better, there's a way that I can do that. Even if it's only impacting one child, I can make the society better. And that's my encouragement. Have that in mind. If I can impact just one child and help them to be productive citizens, then that is my way of rebuilding my society.
Mrs. Knowles, Mrs. Duvalier, thank you very much for coming, and I hope in years to come, as you said, Mrs. Duvalier, that people begin to open their homes and their hearts to the less fortunate and make a home for these unfortunate children in order to build our society into a stronger, more viable country as a whole. Thank you, ladies, very much.
Thank you.
This has been another edition of Insight. I'm Pamela Isaacs. Thank you for watching. See you next time.